It is the great genius of decimals that they, in a sense, get rid of the fact you're dealing with fractions at all, or rather place it in a very certain sort of position. If, for instance, you're multiplying those two numbers together and you're doing it in the conventional way, what decimals, the great invention of ancient Babylonian mathematicians, do is say you can treat the numbers and the decimals separately. Okay, and you just simply treat them separately. So what I was always taught to do by Miss Guppy was to count up the number of decimal places. There are 3 decimal places, and at the end I will have to introduce 3 decimal places, and if I need to put in zeros, I will need to put in zeros. You then go 12 times 8, which is 96, and then you would go 96. The decimal point always imaginary starts there, and you go 1, 2, and you're going to need to put another decimal point in. And it's simply, you always remember that the decimal point has to start on the extreme right hand side. You jump it from there, and then you can move over and add zeros. Effectively, decimals demand that you understand every number as kind of looking, for instance, 12 could look like that, because you have an infinite reserve of zeros there and an infinite reserve of zeros there after the decimal point, because those zeros don't affect the numbers. And that kind of comes from Babylon, and what it does is it allows you to jump numbers backwards and forwards. It's the modern terminology, Babylon counting in base 60, and they didn't always write the decimal point in. The problem with decimal points is if you are doing multiplications, it's terribly easy to get yourself caught up in overly complicated multiplications. For instance, that's a long multiplication. Interestingly, as a fraction, of course, that's just 1/8 times 1/4, which, if you remember, is just 1/32. As a decimal, you would have, 5 dp? And then you would either be setting it up as 1, 2, 5, 25, and using your very formal long multiplication method, which I might time out before I finish writing down, because I just might. Or alternatively, for those of you who have the luck to have taught it, you could use the Babylonian method,